जीव है नहीं यार ठीक है So thank you. We are just starting the hybrid format panel discussion today in the theme of leading in the age of disruption and transformation. People who are aware of the way State Bank Institute of Leadership engages with the alumni who are who attend programs in SBIL would know that we have been conducting a whole lot of panel discussions on the hybrid format, virtual formats, fireside chats, and so on and so forth on very vital themes. So today we have one such vital theme for discussion in the theme of leading in the age of disruption and transformation. So to deliberate more, we have wonderful three esteemed panelists who have come here. Dr. Anil Kandelwal, the former chairman of Bank of Baroda, advisor, author, with whole lot of board level profiles. After retirement, also very energetic, a transformation expert. We have Mr. S.R. Nair, who is actually a serial entrepreneur, author, evangelist on tech aspects, mentor, and so on. And we also have Mr. Arun Jain, who's from SBA Stable, is a senior vice president with the SBA CAPS subsidiary, who will also deliberate on very vital themes of disruption and transformation happening in India and the world and Asia and so on. So before getting further into it, we all know that we had sent out a warm welcome to all the participants of the cohorts of programs who are attending, at SBIL, who had the opportunity to be physically present in this auditorium. All the participants of mid-career programs, I guess 3 batches participants are there, and also our general managers who are participating in the high value corporate credit program. So a warm welcome to all of you. Before going further, I would request our director, Mr. Bangar Raju, to come to the stage and welcome the gathering so that it sets the right tone for the program to go on. Thank you. Please.
Good evening. Good evening to all of you.
It's still not on. No? Is it on?
Hello. No.
Audible.
Good evening to all of you. And I extend a warm welcome to all of you to this grand event. Today, we often hear so many technical jargons like AI, machine learning, ChatGPT, and so on. If somebody doesn't know or is not familiar with the latest ChatGPT concept, he is considered to be illiterate. Technology is evolving at a pace which was never observed which was never witnessed earlier. Yesterday's technology is outdated today, and today's innovation is obsolete tomorrow. This is the pace with which actually the technology is evolving across the globe. If I see actually for the last 28 years that I've put in the service in the bank, I feel that technology has transformed itself from just an enabler to almost main business driver today. It has become an integral part of the business processes, and we can't function without technology today. And whatever the technology that is happening today, it is not just incremental, it's mostly disruptive. Professor Stephen Hawking once said that full-blown development of AI will spell the end of human race, indicating the potential that will be unleashed by the AI and other emerging technologies today. With the emergence of sentient technologies and new sectors, I feel the future of the humankind is beyond imagination. I was reading somewhere, I think in the edX course, when I pursued some course there, the future of the work, there was a beautiful statement. If a child is born today, 18 years down the line, he will be employed in a sector which is not existing today. That indicates the kind of churning that is happening in the business ecosystem. Digital and telecom revolution in the country and across the world have completely changed the business ecosystem. New technologies, especially in India, new technology architectures like ONDC, Open Network Digital Commerce, and central bank digital currency, and 5G technologies, all these have completely redefined the entire business ecosystem in terms of its speed, convenience, and costs to the customers and efficiencies. Maybe it appears that prognosis of Bill Gates almost in the 90s that banks may not exist appears to be true. Today, banking has gone to the doorstep and into the hands of the people, of the customers. Just at the press of a button, he is able to complete his business transactions without visiting the branches. Today, with the deep integration of digital technology with the businesses, I feel we are witnessing a kind of creative destruction. And those leviathans or behemoths, which were considered to be almost impregnable, are getting dismembered, are slowly getting dismantled. Their predominance is being questioned, identity is being lost. If you have to succeed as a leader today in the businesses, you need to be highly agile, you need to be highly active and proactive, and also you need to keep your learning curve always on. Against this background, SBIL is really delighted to organize a panel discussion on a very interesting topic, that is leading in the age of disruption and transformation. With the presence of erudite panelists here, our professor Dr. Krishna Kumar, Dean SBIL, has already mentioned the names of these experts. So thank you very much for being with us today, sir, and sparing your valuable time and actually sitting here and expressing your consent to share your thoughts on this very, very engaging and important topic. I once again extend a warm welcome to all of you to those people, to those participants of various training programs and the audience who are available here physically, and those who have logged in online to participate in this panel discussion. Dean Professor Krishna Kumar has already mentioned Dr. Anil Kandelwal is an expert on HR and he was CMD of Bank of Baroda, former CMD of the Bank of Baroda. And he is today also is very actively associated with so many organizations and is a great motivational speaker. Sri S.R. Nair is a senior serial entrepreneur and also a great author. He's an adjunct professor at IIM Kozhikode. Sri Arun Kumar Jain is the senior vice president in SBI Capital Markets. With a very impressive track record, all these panelists have gathered here to enlighten us with their insights into this very inscrutable topic. I extend once again to all of you a warm welcome, and also I extend my welcome to the panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Much. Thank you, Mr. Bangaraju, for setting the note, and thank you for all the participants here. I think the hall is swelling as well as the online also. We are also on live stream in the social media pages of SBI, both in YouTube as well as in Facebook. Well, now I would request my colleague, Dr. Joshi, Vijay Joshi, to introduce the panelists formally for the day so that we can get it going. Please.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to all. I am Dr. Vijay Joshi, postdoctoral research fellow at State Bank Institute of Leadership, Kolkata. It is my privilege to read out the profile of such a prolific speaker, Sri Dr. Anil Khandelwal, sir. Dr. Khandelwal, PhD in management, is a well-known transformational leader of India who is credited with the transformation of one of the largest public sector bank, Bank of Baroda, in just 3 years, from decline to most powerful and valuable brand during his tenure as its chairmanship and managing directorship from 2005 to 2008. Earlier, he rescued another public sector bank, Dena Bank, as its chairman from its low ebb. His brand of leadership is based on building intangibles like culture, people, brand, governance, leadership, and technology. Peter Capelli of Wharton calls him as an HR hero. Dave Ulrich, a global expert on HR, calls him an exceptional CEO, and Tom Peters, author In Search of Excellence, calls him as a wise leader. I hope I'm audible to all. He is a recipient of 3 Lifetime Achievement Awards for leadership from Asian Banker, Singapore, National HRD Network, and Dr. Pritam Singh Foundation. Economic Times has rated him among the 100 most powerful CEOs of India consecutively for 3 years. Leading management institutes like IIM Ahmedabad and Bangalore have written case studies on the transformation of Bank of Baroda during his time. He has been an international keynote speaker on transformational leadership and governance in many global and national conferences. He has extensively written on leadership and governance issues in the corporations. He has addressed Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, chapters of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Melbourne, Kuwait, Bahrain, and done leadership programs in Georgia and Durban. He has been a UNDP consultant to Banking Reform Commission in Tanzania and also a visiting professor at Asian Institute of Management, Manila and Philippines. The Government of India appointed him as a member of First Bank's Board of Bureau, which selected non-executive chairmen and full-time directors of public sector banks and financial institutions. He also chaired a committee on HR in public sector banks, popularly known as Khandelwal Committee. He has been chairman, Academy of HRD, Ahmedabad, chairman, Center for Microfinance, a Ratan Tata-supported non-profit organization, and board member, GAIL India, a Maharatna company. He has been on the boards of several management institutes like Narsimha Monji Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai, School of Inspired Leadership, Gurgaon, ITM University, Navi Mumbai, ICFAI, Navi Mumbai. He has also seen a senior strategic advisor to global consulting firms like Accenture, Booz and Company, Hewitt, and KPMG. He is on the board of Grassroots Trading Network, Seva Ahmedabad, and member governing board of EKAM Foundation, a non-profit NGO and trustee Population Trust. He has authored, edited 8 books, including the best-selling Dare to Lead. I extend a heartily welcome you, sir, and request you all to please give him a big hand. Now I move to our second esteemed speaker, Sridharan Radhakrishnan Nair, sir. Sri S.R. Nair, a postgraduate in management, is a corporate executive turned entrepreneur with more than 4 decades of experience. His core competencies lie in technology, marketing, and entrepreneurship. Sri S.R. Nair sir's contribution to wealth creation has been setting up 5 companies in information technology and consulting. He performs as an independent director in Manapuram Group, in addition to 3 startups. To nurture entrepreneurship, he had established Mentor Guru Professional Services Private Limited, which provides mentoring and funding assistance to startups and early ventures where he actualizes his energies now. He has chaired Kerala Management Association, Indian Society for Training and Development Kochi chapter, and co-founded and chaired TAI Kerala. He also had been a founding member of Better Kochi Response Group, Rotary Cochin International and Center for Entrepreneurship and Management Development. He is associated with Kerala State Industrial Development Corporation as an expert in its Seed Fund Committee and Kerala Startup Mission, where he is a mentor on both. Sri S.R. Nair was an adjunct faculty at IIM Kozhikode from 2012 to 2018, where he taught entrepreneurship. Presently, he is a visiting faculty at Kochi University of Science and Technology and India Maritime University. He is on the governing council of many business schools in Kerala and Tamil Nadu. He is an author of 2 books and has published several papers on management and entrepreneurship. He is regularly featured on TV channels on career counseling, management, and entrepreneurship. Sri S.R. Nair is a sought-after public speaker, thought leader, and panel moderator. I extend heartily welcome you, sir. I request all the members to please give him a big hand. Now I take this opportunity to welcome Sri Arun Kumar Jain, sir, Senior Vice President and Head, SBI Capital Markets Limited. Mr. Arun Kumar Jain has work experience of around 2 decades in financial services industry. He is a qualified chartered accountant and a company secretary. He also has other degrees, namely DISA, CFA, CAIIB, MCOM, and has successfully completed limited insolvency examination, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. He has been with SBI Capital Markets Limited for around 17 years and is currently holding the position of Senior Vice President and Head, Kolkata Regional Office, overlooking the entire relationship and business execution for East and Northeastern region. He has been instrumental in completing many marquee transaction cost, the infrastructure sector that pertains to fundraising, resolution advisory, and mergers and acquisition. It may be mentioned that at SBI Caps, the marquee deals that has successfully completed under the able leadership and guidance of Mr. Jain are the strategic disinvestment of Neelachal Ispat Nigam Limited to Tata Steel Long Products for an enterprise value of INR 12,100 crore, which was being managed by DIPAM, and also the sale of the steel business of Usha Martin to Tata Steel that led to turnaround of Usha Martin business. He was also instrumental in the turnaround of Haldi Petrochemicals business and also advised them for the cross-border acquisition. He has advised Government of Odisha for multiple transactions, including merger of 4 companies into Odisha Mining Corporation, acquisition of 49% stake in Odisha Power Generation Company by Department of Energy, Government of Odisha. The major fundraising exercise completed in rupee term loan, ECB and bonds for various companies were mainly DVC, Namali Grahar Refinery, Bengal Gas, CESC, Sri Cement, etc. Currently acting as advisor to Committee of Creditors of SREI Infrastructure and SREI Equipment Finance and is in the final stage of resolution for assignment of debt to NARCL of more than INR 30,000 crore. I extend heart welcome you, sir. I request all the members to please welcome me. Now, it is my privilege to introduce the moderator of this panel discussion, Professor N. Krishna Kumar, Dean, State Bank Institute of Leadership, Kolkata. Professor Kumar is a bank executive turned academic turned leadership trainer and coach. He is currently Dean and Head of Academics at State Bank Institute of Leadership, Kolkata, which is the apex training institute arm of State Bank Group with a vision to become an institute of choice for leadership training in the BFSI sector in India and beyond. Professor Kumar brings with him more than 3 decades of experience spanning banking, consulting, research, training, academics, and administration. He has also worked with 4 other banks in senior positions and headed vital functions at different points in time. His academic profile includes earned doctorate degree in financial risk management and is a rank holder in post-graduation in management with specialization in banking and finance. He also earned colors by various other academic research pursuits from universities, professional institutes, industry associations, including Indian Banks Association, through his scholarship and fellowships. He is an accredited trainer, visiting professors in universities, business schools, and training colleges. As an academic and administrator, he has held academic leadership positions for nearly 15 years and held directorship, deanship in 3 different universities and institutions, and has served as chairman and member of board of studies and academic councils of different universities and institutions. His area of interest includes risk, banking, finance, management, strategy, systems, restructuring, and he is an avid interdisciplinary researcher, having published more than 60 publications in both national and international journals, including gold standard publications like Australian Business Deans Council, Graded, and Scopus Index publications. He has won several awards and recognition during his career, including as Young Leader, Best Teacher, Best Paper, Best Dean and Director, Best Case Study Analysis, and Best Presenter, Best Trainer, etc. He has visited 15 plus countries and had lectured in many global events in diverse themes in his interest area as an invited speaker in international conferences and summits. I welcome you also, sir. I request you all to please give him a big hand. And without a further ado, I hand over the podium to Professor Kumar.
Thank you.
Please
Thank
proceed.
you. Thank you, Dr. Joshi. Yes. So I guess without making any more demands on time as regards the profiles, let me kickstart the discussions. So broadly, we thought we will discuss the issue on hand when we're talking about leadership, especially leadership in the new age of disruption and transformation. I thought we'll pose questions as per the competency areas of each of the esteemed experts we have. So let me take the first question to Dr. Kandelwal. Sir, you were a transformational expert, and now that we are talking about transformation in the context of banking, if we look at the HR or aspects are of the challenges that we had maybe 10-15 years back of IR nature have now moved over, and a lot of new challenges we are in. And it's also true that we need to have a lot of nuanced understanding of how the whole edifice of banking is changing and the transformational pieces that they need to go in into that. Looking at the way things have changed, including the digital disruption part of it, or the green initiative that we are talking about, the sustainability part of banking. Not that the IR is anywhere in the relegated stage. Even now, there is a lot of discussions and bipartite settlements going on. The one is due. A week back, SBA was having a lot of discussions on that with union leaders and all. How do you see this whole thing that has changed from what the transformation blueprints were, maybe say 10-15 years earlier, vis-a-vis the current age of banking? And what is your take on that? Hello. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
It's okay.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I was only worried that I may not be another panel members introduced fourth time. In these digital times, I was getting a bit nervous. But anyway, that's very nice of you to be so courteous and generous with our profiles. Uh, um, it is a great feeling to be with participants of various programs in SBI. And SBI always consider a national treasure, I tell you, in banking. Having seen banking elsewhere, it's a massive organization. 250,000 employees, over 25,000 branches, humongous amount of transactions. And it not only moves, it moves with great excellence. So I feel really very good to be here with SBI colleagues. I welcome all of you. I welcome general managers. I know they have much more wisdom than what perhaps I'm going to share. But frankly, the question that you have asked in digital times, no one has complete answers. We are at best guessing based on our experience, whatever little we have. But there are certain discerning things that worries me. Now, I don't know how many of us know that researchers in Harvard and Wharton are now saying that digitalization in 70% companies have failed. This is a very worrisome thing because lock, stock, and barrel, we think digitalization is solution to all our problems. Now, this happened with core banking. We thought that core banking has come, everything's fine. Now, word over what is being written today is the human side and customer side of digitalization. These are our new challenges. We have created app, which is wonderful, which really makes life so easy for everyone. But we have to go a long way in terms of dealing with the bottlenecks arising out of digitalization. Imagine about 15 to 20% people are not digitally fit in this country. Retired people, a lot of people, old people. And they really don't know where to go, how to go. If you go to a branch, the branch manager also, in many cases, has no answer to when the problem is encountered. Look at that. I keep meeting people, and somebody told me that he has got a message that 10,000 rupees are lien marked. And since last 2 months, he's running around. Even the branch manager, RM, JM don't know. They say it has come from Delhi somewhere. There is a cyber security organization which has, and nobody. I think we must now get into the real problem solving process arising out of. And for that, we must first of all know the extent of problem. Like if you go to doctor, if he does not know what is the diagnosis, what will he solve? I think we are failing in our country, whether it is banks or elsewhere, to understand the problems arising from customers. And we have very solid understanding of this. You see, during the day, let us say SBI or Bank of Baroda, Punjab National Bank, millions of customer interaction and transactions take place. Is there a mechanism that live in the evening, there is some office in any bank which can really filter through what customers are experiencing? I doubt we have any such system where from 25,000 branches or 5,000 branches elsewhere, real live problems, or is there an app where the problems are invited? You see, every country, including India, people speak about problems behind. They don't talk upfront. You have to instigate customers to tell problems virtually. So what happens to that? People are really having problems with digitalization or the new kind of banking. We have no data. No research is available. Question number one. Question number two about employees. What is the wisdom that employees are passing on? Because wisdom is in the field. Wisdom is not, because they interact with customers. They see what competitors are doing. How do we collectivize or collect the wisdom of employees? What is happening? In my work on transformation in Bank of Baroda, we demystified this. We went, and you will not believe, the most wisdom to me came not from my colleague general managers and others, because their behavior is defensive, that yes, this is happening because this problem. The real wisdom is coming from ordinary people when they tell what product is working, what is not working, what a neighboring bank is doing, and how we are languishing with the old kind of things. I was amazed about the wisdom from the field. I think one thing that we need to align our organizations is the wisdom from the field. One, even during digitalization has solved many problems. But then organizations are still not aligned to deal with the digitalization. The second problem is our internal management processes. Are they coordinated? Is the internal bureaucracy has reduced a bit or it has increased? Internal bureaucracy is the biggest problem. That what kind of decisions were in yesteryears taken at higher level, they continue to be taken at higher level. To give you an example, in some banks, the decision to send a manager to an local external program, let us say Kolkata Management Association is doing a program, and you want to nominate 5 branch managers, the decision still goes to higher authorities. Why? If you have crores of power for credit, how come in human resource you have no power? I don't know about SBI. I know some of the banks. I don't know really about SBI. The decentralization in motivating or engaging people and some small reward mechanism has still not slowed down. The third is there has been, unfortunately, no major structural initiative in human resource function. 25 years back, I argued and articulated decentralization of wage negotiation at bank level. Why a big bank person should get same salary, the bank which is teetering on its legs, which may be closed down also. I've never understood. I even attempted when I was chairman not to give authority to IBA for Bank of Baroda. But of course, when 27 other at that time banks give, you can't do. What I'm trying to say, unless there are parallel reforms in human resource and customer management, we can have very difficult time ahead. And those are the new challenges in the current time. And as I said, third is that we still have very traditional notion of developing leaders. We cannot develop leaders out of a 1 week long program, whether it is at SBI, please pardon me, or it is at Harvard. It is a very serious process, I tell you. It's a very serious process that you need. There's many organizations in the world who are really the laying the garden path of leadership. How much they spend. Please look at the expenditure on developing people in every organization. It's laughable. And therefore, it is easy to say human beings are our assets. I add to it, human beings are our only assets. Without people, this is a hole. And I think that seriousness in developing people has to go much, much deeper, I tell you. We don't have data about our people. You discover, for example, at a bank level, it's amazing to find some people with such skills in writing. People who are great painters, people who are great musicians. I found in my own bank somebody who was an international star and who was nominated for Grammy Award. Nobody knew. There is a whole lot of talent. We know so much about credit accounts, not even depositors account. So we need to extend our knowledge of knowing people, whether customer or whether this digitalization can help us in that. Digitalization so far we have used only for banking work. We have not used digitalization in understanding the core of the organization, the people side of the organization. There is a huge talent for that. If I can add lastly that we need to create learning organizations. We are not learning organizations. In fact, increasingly we are becoming toxic organizations where there is so much on work, targets, work, targets. The other day, Reserve Bank governor had to intervene in case of private banks. 50% attrition in private banks. The regulator's attention is, and this is happening because at any cost sell, young people who come, MBAs and all that, they come with certain dreams. They come with, but there is so much, and this toxicity worries me. How do we improve this culture, which is more aligned to digitalization? See, digitalization is like a flowing river. So you cannot have a constraining culture relating to people, customers, management processes. I'm not saying everything is bad. Please don't mistake me. I'm saying there is a huge, huge initiatives that need to be taken in some of these intangibles. More I'll talk on intangibles later. I don't know I have answered your question or created more problems for you.
Thank you. Please.
Yeah.
Good. We'll discuss more about intangibles in the coming this one, sir. So now I'll just take the discussion forward with Mr. S.R. Nair. Sir, we all know that you're a technology man and you had mentored startups. You yourself were been a serial entrepreneur and all that. Now, I want to contextualize more into technology. We all know that as South Asia, know that there are a lot of participants from here also, or in general as a bigger country being India. We were all used to be the consumers of technologies, isn't it? So whatever that gets invented in the Western world, we were just users of that till maybe a few years ago. Now we have suddenly become the architects of technologies for a world like even the you have concurrent launches now happening. Technologies like 5G, India is spearheading it, isn't it, in its own way? Why go as far to technology? Even when you talk about the other day, the tunnel issue, Mr. Dix told that, for many of these things, a machine can fail, but then some ingenuity of rat hole, diggers, rat hole diggers had come in handy. And maybe India has a solution for many of these things. So where are we going? As on the one hand, as from consumers of technologies to the creators and of tech platforms and so on and so forth. Where do you see this digital disruption debate taking us? And are we in the driver's seat as far as India or South Asia in general are concerned?
Yeah, I'm audible, right? Thank you very much, SBI, SBIL, Mr. Bagaraju, Mr. Professor Krishna Kumar, for this very warm hospitality. I'm very enamored. Thank you. First of all, I would like to place my gratitude before you. Mr. Bagaraju said that Bill Gates had said that banking may end. In fact, actually, he continued to say that banking is required, bankers are not. Actually, so he went on to say that. He said banking is required, banks are not. That element also we need to understand actually. Now, you had asked me a question related to the disruption that is causing, and are we on the driver's seat as far as these technological disruptions are concerned? We heard Dr. Khandelwal, I mean, such a observer who had been there and done that and seen all those things. There is an element of pessimism that I hear from him related to all this technology not taking care of the people. Okay, he says there are core banking solutions, there is front-end solution, there is mobile apps, etc. available, but are we in control of the totality, the wholesome thing? Now, you rightly said that we were originally the consumers of technology, the consumers of technology. Today, but at the same time, thanks to Y2K problems that happened in the world, year 2000 problem that happened in the world, the Indians got recognized as a soft power. And that really had given a lot of fillip to our exports, our manpower, and the development of Indian IT sector. Okay. So when you start with that, where you were something close to 50, 60 years behind, and then you try to catch up with this, originally you try to learn this, then you try to develop things on. It is said, okay, I mean, I'm referring to some of the red inputs that close to 60% of the coding of IT goes through an Indian, maybe sitting in India or sitting outside India, which is a big number. If you really close to 60% of the world's coding or programming goes to an Indian, so which is a major recognition of our soft power related to that. And if we have that, I do not have any doubt that he can take it forward to actually come to sit on the chair to lead it. As of now, no. We have followed, even if you look at your core banking solutions, your customer touch programs, the mobile apps that you work at, etc. There is always, we have been predominantly following the American system, okay, in terms of technology as well as customer interface. Now, Mr. Bangara just spoke about AI. Okay, we are sometimes scared, and we are sometimes we would like to welcome it being scared, actually, to see what actually it is. Lots of us really do not know how it pan out to be. If all of us really knew how it pan out to be 2-3 weeks back, there was no need for that discussion where Elon Musk and everybody was invited for the powers that be, the world leaders, and asking, can we pause? Can we pause AI? That's what the question they were asking. Can we pause AI for some time so that we can understand this animal and then try to create? See, one challenge that happened in IT is the regulators did not know what this animal is. That is the problem. In IT, the regulators really did not know what this animal is. And coding became, or the coders became the rule. Coders also became the regulator. The coding and coders actually became the regulator because governments of the world did not really know how to actually catch it. So now they are realizing, we are speaking about deep fakes, we are speaking about dark web, we are speaking about lots of things that actually brings problems to humanity. And then, but we still have not been, human has not been able to fathom it. So we want to pause. We want to pause AI for some time so we understand it and take it forward. I think future, it is always said that people who create the future lead the future. But then this is an area where the way in which the technology is geometrically or exponentially progressing, sometimes we find it very difficult to catch up with that. And those oligarchies, which has the courts in their hand, is slowly, I mean, which is a very worrisome figure because you have leaders, you have policy makers, you have elected representatives, you have monarchs, you have in this world. Now suddenly these people who had coded the world actually are really controlling the world. And 25 years back, none of these organizations we have heard of. And they are all now sitting in the top 5 of the richest people in the world by virtue of this. Now, where it takes you, what is the level of control that we can put on it? But one thing I'm very sure of, I mean, that is the core of answering to your question, is that definitely we could come to a driving seat. Having understood this far, having been doing this coding for all these organizations the world this far, a day is not very far. The human ingenuity, as far as the Indians are concerned, in going to develop those solutions and going to develop the products and solutions, which probably could help, or which probably we will be able to outsource it to others to for them to use it to create a better world. Probably. And I look forward to that. Thank you. Thank you. So we'll again discuss further.
Now, let me take the discussion forward with Mr. Arun. Arun, as we all know, that the capital markets, so SBI capital markets, looking at the way the macroeconomy of the world and India and many of these industries are placed, including banking, we know that banks are in good shape. Balance sheets have largely been clean as far as India is concerned. But it's a mixed bag when you look at even neighboring countries. Many of them are tottering. Many of them have issues. In total imbalances when it comes to trade. Uh, you notice that the kind of debt that has world has amassed in the last few years, it's touching 300 trillion. And 58 countries, that alone is touching 300 trillion. And somewhere along, the kind of servicing that is required itself, many countries are, knocking at the gates of Britain twins, and that number is only going up. And the way other geopolitics is playing out is again making a mess of things. So many of these things, as you know, from the macroeconomy part to the Wall Street issues, whether it is on the bond side or the capital rising side, to fall into the main street doesn't take much time. And, that's how it spills to issue. How do you see the world going forward? That part of disruption and transformation happening with a kind of poorer or a relatively lesser understanding of amassing more and more of debt and so on.
First of all, let me share with you, I want to have my gratitude to Mr. Khandelwal, because when we joined banking, he was there as a chairman, and we have learned a lot of things because Bank of India was always considered as an international bank. So it's always
Bank of India,
Bank of Baroda was always considered as an international bank. And it's always a privilege actually to sharing the desk with you. Having said that, we are working on a ground during this difficult time on the pandemic, and we have done few of the transactions, including completion of disinvestment transaction of Nilachal Ispat, which was a very interesting and learning one, because any disinvestment poses a lot of challenges, and it's a disinvestment which was done where there were 6 father and mother, because it was a baby of MMTC, which then was also controlled by government of Odisha through OMC and Epicol. We have BHEL, who were the suppliers, which comes under Ministry of Heavy Industries, and we were interacting with various counterparties. So let me share with you first, things have changed rapidly in India. And as Mr. Khandelwal have stated, that there were concerns that whether we are able to satisfy to our customer and with the improved need. So let me share with you on grounds when we are working. Things are working in a very integrated approach, and India, I would say, in the last 3 to 5 years, post pandemics, have really created its way out for himself. Post the pandemic, when we got our first vaccine within the country, it actually has boosted the morale of many of them, and that's too in the banking industry. So, with the invent of Insolvency Act and with the bankruptcy thing coming full hawk, we have been able to resolve more than 10 lakh crore of debt, which was in stress. And today, things looks far more clean, far more beautiful, because the entire focus is on the growth after cleaning our balance sheet. there are a lot of initiative and structured approach through which the bank's balance sheet have been made healthier, and that is coming as a big way as a booster for the development of the country. Because when we are saying that out of our peers who are actually finding it difficult to grow, we are growing at a rapid pace of more than 7%, and last quarter our growth was 7.6%, which means things are going on the right side. Corporates have been able to deleverage their balance sheet during the good two periods post pandemic. And today we are speaking about capex, we are speaking about monetization, and in the NIP we have a planned capex of roughly around $1.4 trillion, which is roughly around 111 lakh crore. So all these are happening because we have been able to create the platform or the structure to take it forward. Which, as you said, that out of our 58 other countries, if you look upon their GDP ratios to the debt, they are really leveraged. For for in that context, we are in a very, very sweet spot because we are, if you see today itself, our Nifty and Sensex has hit a new lifetime high. We have crossed 4 trillion in the market capitalization. A lot of capital and money is flowing through the primary as well as secondary market. And we see the response was the last week IPO, which has happened across of Tata Tech, where we got a subscription of more than 2 lakh crore and 70 times it was oversubscribed. So there is plenty of money that is available. And what you need to provide them is the sound infrastructure, stable policy making, and basically the initiatives which the government is taking to support the industry. So the way, if you look upon under Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have various schemes, including PLI scheme, which is basically gives you an incentive on your production, and that's happening. That's helping to bring in new investment to do more capex. And as we speak today, in all the major sectors, if you look upon whether it is data center, whether it is electric vehicle, whether it is indigenous defense, and we are also exporting, whether it is blending of ethanol with the primary fuel and other things, we are trying to be more self-sufficient and we are well placed. So I would say that compared to all our peers, we are better placed. We have all the policy and clarity. And if the political stability which we see is there on that part, India will be definitely leading the show and all the other nearby countries. Because when we see across the most powerful economies like China and others, they are struggling with their debt. There are defaults, major defaults there. In our case, it has improved, and people are more deleveraging the balance sheet and doing for capex. So I think those discipline will help them to bring things more on a stable ground and with economic reforms and political support. Because since we hosted the G20 summit also, that shows the platform, the confidence of all the people coming and investing in India because there's a clear cut policy. So people have started moving from West and China to India as a more secured supply chain partner. And India has a long way to go, I can say.
That gives, I mean, our hearts are warmed by such answers. So, just taking the discussion further with Mr. Kandelwar, sir, you are an expert in transformation. The two you were always mentioned in your book as well as in all your sessions. The role intangibles play in leadership. The role of intangibles. Many times as leaders, we don't recognize that part. And even concepts like tough love when it comes to the communication part or any other standard we take. How do you make our leaders understand that those nuances?
You see, my experience, I don't have to sell India, India is doing well, that's fine. But it's time to take a stock when you do well. You need to look at more seriously. When your spouse continues to remind you that there is some problem, And the spouse says, no, no, I'm fine. I'm working 12 hours. I've got this award, I've got that award. You are very pessimistic. And one day, you go to doctor, he says, you are not going back home. Get into ICU. When you perform well, that is the time to look at where we need, because growth is the biggest deceptive factor. Please understand. A lot of research. Jim Collins, who is world's authority on organization, you must have seen Good to Great, and his book is Why Great Organizations Fall. And it brings out very clearly that celebration of growth itself can be a problem for the future. We have seen in bank, you meet branch manager who says, sir, but I'm giving 20% growth. I'm giving this, I'm giving that, and suddenly you discover problem is end-to-end growth, not only in these numerics are, I tell you, very misleading. As senior bankers, you know how numerics and March figure can really create problem for you. It's very good. We are very proud about good things. But since we are talking of India, please see some of the major cultural factors. India doesn't come in last 20. Some of the African nations are higher. Anyway, I don't want to get into political debate and make it some NDTV debate or all that. But collective conspiracy to celebrate complacency itself can be a problem. In Bank of Baroda, when I took over, when bank was sliding, I went to places and said, we are a great bank. We are doing very well. Unions are coming to everything is fine in the bank. Employees are talking the same thing. The bank was suffering from this disease of collective conspiracy for complacency because we don't share bad news. CEOs don't share bad news. Country leaders don't share bad news. And that is, one should get concerned about it. And when we started correcting those, who shares bad news? Your customers. Nothing seems to be happening. When a proposal is finally done after so many stages, there are so many conditions that finally money is not released. They will tell. So my submission for organizational transformation, I'm not a politician. I've not run a constituency. So I don't hold mandate of that kind. As an organizational man, I think great organizations are concerned about performance plus health of the organization. Performance is current performance, what you call quarter to quarter, even yearly. Health is whether this organization will continue to perform and take the shocks of disruption.
Performance and conformance.
Performance plus health. Health is very important. You may be performing 16 hours, but in the process, your health is going down. Organizations undergo the same kind of thing. I'm on organization. And that is where I talk of employees, customer, internal management processes. This can happen despite you being number one. And I think this micro understanding of organization, continuously working on that, is the real challenge. And digitalization provides a great opportunity. Because in good old days, you could never find how employees are thinking. Today, by stroke of button, every evening, from millions of customers, you can get their feedback. But is there a mechanism to look at it? I'm talking of those, because that will create a garden path for organization for their survival in future. Because you don't know what is going to happen. I'll give you an example. I experienced technology, the what is going to come. Recently, I was in San Francisco. And I had a half an hour ride in driverless car. It was amazing. But you see driverless car, let us say after 10 years, it gets, all approvals get stabilized. For a country like India, what happens to millions of people? Now, that is not an argument for not having something, isn't that? Are we aware about the consequences of technology? Are we aware of consequences of AI and how we are leveraging it for growing business, for creating satisfaction in our employees, for creating satisfaction in our customer? If you see technology as some sort of a, panacea, and that is why world is asking pause, because it has gone out of hand now. It has gone totally out of hand. Today, there are robots. There used to be robots all the time in car industry. There are robots who are supervisors. The robots in Japan, it is being experimented, robo as a departmental head. We don't even fathom what's happening. So the point is that in a competitive time, mere technology understand will not help. So we have to create a learning environment in our organizations about the organizational learning agenda so that people have a total understanding that how to design organization in terms of structure, strategy, people, process, and purpose. There was a time that we used to go for restructuring, let us say 10 years. Today you may have to, in the perpetual game of restructuring your organizations. Gone those days of RM, ZM, and this vertical. You don't know. Are we ready for that? And I have seen from experience, unless it impacts personally, we don't learn. So therefore, we need to create a learning landscape in organization where people are creating forums of learning. It's not that only you come here and he organizes this kind of thing. I think, in my opinion, 10% time of organization must go in internal panel discussions on various things. That if a development has taken place, how it will affect branches, how it will affect regions. And this feedback should go to corporate office. Today it is flowing from one source down below, that it is decided that from tomorrow you should do this. And then 100 ways are invented that it cannot be done. Because alignment, we need to create, this is an agenda as to how do we align. We can align provided right at the time of decision making, people are aligned. So some of those points, and I can assure you, I'm talking something that we have done, and that's how we achieve transformation of a major transformation we did. Because we sought agenda from the field. We disempowered the top in a way, metaphorically, and empowered the branch manager. Because in our thought, he is the creator of business and he is most disempowered. We studied this phenomenon. Now, when I say we disempowered the top, does not mean disempowered. In metaphorically, we deflated the top, which is managing only by issuing instructions. We also created that, look here, you cannot aggregate the performance of branches and say this is the performance of credit department. Go and converse yourself and add to what they have done. So individual general managers too will have target. The point I'm saying is that we need to create a new mindset which is based on constant learning and thinking. It may sound a bit esoteric at this point of time, but world's great organization. The second thing, lest I forget, is the human resource function is I think, needs to be resurrected in its form. Now look at it. When you talk of human resource function, one talks of only Hindustan Unilever in this country. Why? Or leadership. Hindustan Lever has created 1,000 CEOs in the last 50 years for various corporations. But please see, what do they do in this? How they do it? There is a book written by a Hindustan Lever ex-top guy. Hindustan Unilever, a leadership factory. And what do? They make soaps, they make beauty items, but the corporate philosophy of developing the talent. Tata's, some more. Can we name one financial institution? Because 14 hours you are busy in the laundry list of doing things. We are dry cleaners, metaphorically. Many people that I meet, persons like you, have been great debaters in their college days. They have been even writers. They have been editing their college magazine. And after 10 years, you ask them, no hobby is retained. Despite best intention, people are not able to. I'm talking of creating that culture in the organization where people have time to think, time to practice. And it's a culture. Your time will still be same. You have 24 hours. I don't know whether I'm making sense or it is one of those evening esoteric talk. But trust me, being a student of studying great organization and also a student of why great organizations collapse, I'm sharing some of these thoughts that the fabric is more important. You may have a shirt, but its fabric is very important. Culture, governance, human resource, leadership quality. If you build these, the health of the institution, with or without you, you can come and visit after 100 years. The organization will survive. But today's leaders are failing earlier than laptop batteries. And moreover, great leaders. And the world has less problem from nuclear armament. It has more problem from deficit leadership. Because a bad leader can press the button and the nuclear device will. That's the importance of leadership. But I was telling him, great leaders leave a legacy. Even after 50 years, without meeting, I remember R.K. Talwar of SBI. Why? He's my role model. Why? For boldness, courage, and the kind of things. Are we leaving a legacy? That's the role of leadership. So please don't get fascinated by digitalization or AI or whatever you call. They are all welcome. They are all welcome, but ensure they don't rule us. A dangerous tendency has arisen in many organizations where we have surrendered to a digitally qualified person. So you go and meet somebody important, he said, to talk to my digital officer. There is a huge amount of digital illiteracy in organizations. This is the learning agenda which is coming, and I am worried. And with gray hair, you become a bit cynical also. That's my worry right now. Thank you.
So, since we are also on, running out of time, I would request some of the questions to come from the audience also. Please keep your questions. I'll ping pong with the other panelists, and I would also urge all the participants who have digitally logged in to send their questions So I'm actually getting the questions here as well. So I'll flag it off to the esteemed panelists. So we may not have much time. So whatever questions that are not getting repeated and which are not getting answered here, we'll also be able to offline answer it to you. Yes. So just taking on the discussions further, sir, with Nair sir. Sir, looking at about the fresh blood part of what we call the startup. When we all ape for a 5 trillion economy or whatever. So it also means that a lot more of organizations need to come in, a lot of startups, a lot of unicorns, and so on and so forth. But it's also a fact that of late, somewhere along startups, the way it's governing itself, the funding winter being one part of it, but the governance and leadership being the crux of, was not giving the kind of confidence to the, regulators or even to the, government and everybody. So a lot of, I'm worried that somewhere unicorns should not be the ones which should, unicorns without forensic audits. Are there any? So in the, I shouldn't be running such a program next. So where are we now? So please.
See, when we look at business and industry, we always look at a certain level of classifications. You call them enterprise, you call them SME, you call them medium scale, small scale, you call them cottage, all that you call. Then when the government started looking at helping industry, they came with MSME policies. You have a minister separately for heavy industries, you have a minister separately for a specific niche of an industry called textile. You have a minister in India for medium scale industries, small and medium scale industries. So the focus has been. Then how did the startup come into the being? Because in the whole realm of thinking, until some time back, the startup was not there. But the startup was always there. Anything that is started up is called startup. Anything that starts up, anybody who starts a business actually is startup. But today's startup is definitionally completely different from the definitions of MSME, SSI, MSI, and things like that. Micro. Yeah. The startup that we say is something which is small shelf life, smaller shelf life, 5 years, 10 years like that. But at the same time being announced as something which helps the economic growth, sudden splurge of economic growth, because if there is 1,000 startup, you put 10 people each, it is 10,000 employees, which may not be the case with established companies. They go based on the requirements. So, in India, we have always this problem of huge unemployment. So, you have this startup, which is predominantly now technology oriented, smaller life, shelf life, but helps the proliferation by giving more employment. So, when this came in, there's another funny thing happened. It is not the performance of the startup that we counted. It is the ability of the startup to scale that got counted. So what do? I have an idea in my mind. An idea in my mind. It is not even put into paper. It is not even made as a plan. It is not even registered or so. I just make my idea. Then I make my financials for the next 5 years. So I say 5 years hence, okay, I would be making 1,000 crore profit. My idea is in my mouth. It is still on the paper. Now there is somebody who comes and says, yeah, we will do a discounted cash flow method and arrive at the current value of your profit, which is going to happen in 5 years hence. Okay. So now suddenly you have a value for the startup. Most of the startups that you see are funded based on the valuations of the exponential growth that they're supposed to bring in, and they didn't bring it. And that's why you want this forensic audit happening. See, billions of dollars got pumped into the Byju's, and I don't want to name all of them, but then since you said that your startup need to be really checked in. At the same time, if you look at the phenomenon of startup elsewhere, Silicon Valley, at the same time, Silicon Valley Bank closed up. That also is a startup phenomenon, it's after effect. from the perspective of employment, from the perspective of technology, from the perspective of your innovation, etc., startup is given a lot of credit. But startup by valuation alone will not actually get accepted. But that is the unfortunate thing. And all the Black Rocks and the Vanguards of the state streets of the world, they look at multiplying whatever they had invested. If they say let's say a particular corporation or a foundation which says that my trust is currently, let's say, 5 trillion strong. Now I'm using the startup valuation methodologies to make it 10 billion next year. You see? So long as the world has the Vanguards and the BlackRocks and the State Streets and the Thematics of the world, startup revolution will continue to be understood because the book value of these huge corporates and trusts, okay, are going to be very high. Now, as Dr. Khandelwal said, one is reality, the other is daydreaming. So now you need to have a balance somewhere in between. A company which performs should be welcome. A company which says that 5 years hence I'll be this much of profit and hence you fund me and I blow my funds. I was today just reading about this particular company which is EdTech. One of the investor, a huge investor, is saying that I think he's hiding $500 million somewhere else. That is a statement actually put up by a major investor in that EdTech, saying that half is a small number, but I will rather say 500 million. Then it makes sense. Yeah, $500 million. $500 million, I think he has kept somewhere else. That's what they're saying. And this guy is crying, saying that I don't have money to pay the interest. And everything is not that hunky-dory in that organization. Why? Because you went for the evaluation criteria based on exponential growth, and you started looking, and COVID added to that because your edtech companies predominantly came into being because they really took that COVID initiative of training without being together. So this has created some challenges as well. But at the same time, we can see anything that can give boost to an economy of a nation and a place must be welcome with the respective regulations. Okay, but at the same time, you can't be really sitting on the head and say that you do this and you do this. There must be a via media. There must be a balance. That is what we need to maintain. Yeah.
I mean, the employability and,
Yeah, see,
number.
Look at it, sir. See, what's the number of youngsters we have? 70 crore people. It's such a big number. And where do we take them to? Where do we take them to? They have to either find a job or they have to do entrepreneurship then also. Either skilled or they find a job. So I think, in this process of the politicians are very, very, very short mind. I mean, very, very, they look at things short term. 5 years, only 5 years. Okay, the first year matters, the last year matters. The middle year is always done like that. So in this process, they always try to encourage that I have the startup. India has 111 startup, which is valued at $390 billion. Those are big numbers actually. But does it intrinsically have that value? Thank you. Please, sir, go ahead.
Startups are classic example of failed leadership. Good commercial projection, good everything, because we were swayed by IIT-IIM combination. He's an IIT. In good old days, my professor used to tell me that even donkeys live in Harvard. And a recent study has revealed that how many fraudsters these Ivy schools have produced. Look at, he was a Harvard graduate, Enron CEO. And you should read his speech 15 days before Enron took place. One of the fantastic speeches he made about the future of the world and such an optimistic agenda for the world. So now startup, what is happening? Bharat Pay or what? Where a former chairman is chairman there. Or Byju's, or you see Subhiksha. These are all IIM graduates. So please do not get swayed. Tata Sons chairman, what is his name?
Krishna Kumar,
Chandrasekhar.
Sorry.
is not even he is just from Trichy College of Engineering. He is a postgraduate.
Masters in computer
He is
application.
neither IIM nor IIT. But look at, point is, don't get swayed. We are very emotional India. We get swayed of progress. We get swayed by educational qualification. We are swayed by leadership. And we don't do due diligence. We don't expand the horizons of thinking to understand and start up whole lot of governance issues, leadership issues, but they're not even born a leader. Money does not make it. I call some people as media leaders who get media awards, CNBC award, E award, O award, purely on numerical performance. But then there are leaders who are transforming India in variety of ways. So startup, as you very rightly said, is just a valuation game, just a numerical game, and it's a kind of a, I don't know how things will happen finally. But classic case of leadership issue. And therefore, we should not put cart before the horse. Numbers can be problematic. Work on fundamentals. That's the point I made.
Thank you so much. So, just to take the questions, so this is the last question I'm posing to Mr. Jain, and then we'll take questions from the audience and some online.
Do you propose to expend time?
Yeah, no, a
Okay.
few more questions will ping pong. And Jainji, your, a question to you in the discussion. When we talk about the macro part of the economy, especially from the disruption and the transformation part, the major disruptions in the GVC after pandemic was that we were expecting a lot of processes and even production to move from the Chinas of the world to the Southeast Asian countries and so on. And that is touted as one of the major opportunities to jumpstart or to have a larger play in the affairs of the world. Is it happening with the GVC transformation? And if so, in which other industry? If you can throw some light.
So just let me share with you first thing, as Dr. Khandelwal Saab has said very correctly, that the fundamentals needs to be examined. And at times we pursued with the ideas, which is not the right benchmark. And what he is basically, he's analytical with his age, experience, and wisdom he has got. The points which he is raising today are very instrumental. And if we're able to address those points, then we would be able to create an infrastructure which can play a good role in the Amrit Kal, which we say the next 25 years, because we have a lot of visions. We have a lot of, I would not say daydreaming, but a lot of thoughts and ambitions to be self sufficient, which today we are not in all the aspects. We want to be a major hub where a lot of production and supply chain can shift and we can cater to the rest of the world or the developed world. So, on ground, things have started happening. But if you ask me that whether it's happening to the true fledge, it's just the kickoff. So we have been able to set the context right, setting that these are the areas where we can do good amount of work. So when it comes to a few of them are the renewable energy. India historically, if you look upon, was always working on coal as the basic energy requirement, and that fossil used to cater 80 to 85% of the power requirement of the country, because as we are growing and as we are moving from 5 trillion to 10 trillion, energy is one very important aspect. And if we are able to address that part, we would be able to create the first infrastructure of setting other industry on that part. India has done exceptionally well when it comes to putting up renewable energy. And if you see the mix, last 5 to 7 years, our actual generation of or the facility on the ground for renewable energy is more than that of thermal. So that's a good part, because the entire focus, whether you look upon the Paris Accord and whether you look upon any other places where we speak about conventional climate change is happening, and we had to do things which are more aligned to our ESG perspective, because we have to look environment, social, and other things. So this renewable energy is actually helping, and that's the first tool to set the platform. And we have been good in that. And today, more than 150 gigabyte is our energy generation through the renewables, which is a mix of solar, hybrid, wind, hydel, and everything on that part. So that's a very, very good transformation we have been able to do, and have been able to move out from the traditional way of generating energy. Having said that, this Russian-Ukraine crisis have also made us learn that if you need to be self-sufficient, and coal or other energy sources, including natural gas and other things, also needs to be developed. So a lot of work has been done on that part, and captive coal blocks have been allocated, commercial coal blocks have been allocated. More thrust and emphasis has been given to do underground coal mining, which is more clean than your open cast mining. And we are just 4% or 5% of production comes from underground, vis-a-vis China, which has 90%. So we are trying to change, keeping the environment, keeping the other social parameters into account. And significant development have been made. If you look upon the areas where we have done good amount of work, whether it comes to electric vehicle, because global giants are willing to come and set up the facilities, including Tesla, including the new venture of JSW buying out MG and setting up a platform to manufacture EV. Then a lot of investment had been there, made by Suzuki, Mahindras of the world. So we are definitely working on energy transition, making EV as a clean source of vehicles, and to be more self-sufficient. A lot of investment is also being made on the semiconductor side. So we have good amount of committed investments from leading companies, including Foxconn, including Micron, and local. I've not said local, or the Indian giants are also working towards and committing investment for that. So the major areas where I look upon that, lot of groundwork has been done. Some investments have already been made, and in the process of further amount committed is towards the electric vehicle, towards the semiconductor, data center, which is the new generation. Because today, as we say, we are disrupting, which means we are consuming a lot of data. It may be good, it may be bad, but you need to manage it effectively. So a lot of investment is being done there. The way the this is there. And the way, if you look upon India, as you said it, demographically, we are a very, very young country, and everyone is very aspirational, because this is a gadget which can take you across the globe, sitting anywhere on that part. So a lot of investment and a lot of capacity has been built by various companies, including Samsung, Apple, and other things, which will make self-sufficient. And the amount of investment which Jio, Airtel has done for this 5G, because today, compared to the global world, we have the lowest cost of the data for using the data. And these investments are really helping us and bringing to a platform aligning to the Western countries. So good amount of work has been done on the ground. But as I say, it will be just the start of the journey. And taking to this, as Dr. Khandelwal has already stated out, we cannot afford to be complicit at this juncture. And this good work which has been done has to be continuously evaluated. Fundamental needs to be done, and you need to have a corporate governance which has been there in the companies like Tata's, which has been there in Mahindra's. And if you look upon professional run companies like Larsen and Tubro, ITC, HUL of the world, they have given us a way to find out the true route for the journey and reach to the point which is aspired in the year 2047 by your Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are very, very very exhaustive explanation, Mr. J. And we have completely run out of time. The next 10-15 minutes, I thought we'll take questions from the audience, both who are present here, as well as those who can send the questions by MS Teams. So the floor is open for questions. So can the floating mic goes to people who are from the front benches first, then so give it a share. Then you give to the other side.
Good evening to all of you. This question is to Mr. Khandelwal. Sir, we have read your report long back when we were branch managers, and you have written it with so much vision in those days itself. We have read it for our consumption as well as for promotion interviews also. And seeing you in person is a very great for me because I'm feeling great to see you in person and listening to you. While talking, you have discussed about one point about the skills of employees. They are having so much talent but not being used or like that. In fact, you may feel happy that I am a writer. I write stories, short stories in Telugu, my mother tongue, English, Hindi, and Tamil. In the last 3 years, I have written more than 100 stories. So still I am continuing, so you may feel happy. My question here is, while I am able to continue at this level as general manager, nowadays, whenever I talk to my team, who are very juniors, young people, they are also having some skills, but they are not that much keen to pursue them. And most of the time, because of social media and availability of this 5G, etc., they are fully engrossed in those areas and they are not working on it. So, how we can motivate them to pursue their skills, which will help them to manage their work-life balance? Any suggestions?
One is role modeling. You yourself are a role model, for example. One of the things that you see, priorities have changed for them and for you. They can learn faster. They learn different kind of things, which may not be your and my agenda. So there is no need to get worried about it. But the best way you can inspire people is by role modeling. If they say they don't have time, how as general manager you can find time to do many things that you want to do? That much can be done. But if somebody does not want to get motivated, don't waste your time on that. Focus on your motivation. Because basically, you can take horse to water, you can't make him drink. But I have found role modeling is a very that when I find I am working with a boss who can do so many things, I have to self inspire and occasional counseling to people that look, gentlemen, exploring. And I tell you one thing, if you have dialogues and exploration in a non work setting, it inspires general experience. But I don't think you have to take a chance. And out of 10, 15, 20 people, if one is inspired, I think your job is done. You can't inspire. Sometimes we are not able to inspire our own children. In not so many words, they say, mind your business. So, what I'm trying to say, we must recognize the change. And still, I tell you, see the positive qualities of young people. They don't speak lies generally.
Yes.
They're straightforward. We manipulate it. Boss नाराज नहीं हो जाए. What he will feel. Will my appraisal be wrong? Throughout the life, we manipulate it. In some ways, not but metaphorically, we always looked around. They are very straightforward. If they want to do something, they happily do it. If they don't want, but time tested historically, role modeling is why people after so many years remember Gandhi, word over. Role model, that it is possible. So that's fine. But if you are able to write, I found out one person in my organization, you will be amazed. Apart from Grammy, the other person was nominated for some in Karnataka, some Sahitya Academy award for a particular category. I was amazed with the kind of talent. Once I shook hands with a person, I had a policy. If there are 1,000 people, I'll shake hands with everyone. One fellow, I'm Dr. So and so. He said, in which field? He said, HR. Now, that area excited me. I said, what was your topic? He said, strategic human resource management. Very versatile. Right? Huh? From where? Delhi University. He was a junior personnel officer. I said, would you please send your thesis to me? He sent, I was executive director. Read it, found yes, substance. I personally phoned him. Would you like to come to Bombay work with me? He came. An amazing professional he has turned out to be. Of course, he left for the sake of money after some time. Today, his annual income is where he is employed as a corporate HR head, CHRO of a large multinational. His annual compensation is over 2 crore. And he was a skilled 2 officer 15 years back. What I'm saying is find out talent, help them grow. Now, this cannot be, now digitalization will give you number, Y number, this qualification. It is the leadership role to really touch people. That's the point that the human resource kind uh, I'm talking about.
Thank you, sir.
Just
Thank
to add to that, I think he said about today's generation don't hustle them. And also, and many of them think that I will cross the bridge as I come to the bridge. Okay, they are not preparing that 15 years in advance and keeping all those things ready to cross a bridge after 15. So we must understand that they live in the moment. If you prepare somebody for a 15-year thing now, it may not work out. So hustling people and preparing too huge a time frame to prepare them up may not be the right thing to do at this time. Rest of all, what he said, I fully endorse. Thank you, sir. Sir, yourself, just give the mic.
He wants.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, please.
After that, please.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, good evening, sir. My name is Nilambar. I am General Manager for Banking. My question is to Mr. Khandelwal, and this is regarding the leadership experience which all of us, including yourself, must have undergone. This is true, especially about the public sector organizations, especially public sector banks, that we spend initial formative years in rural banking, and when we become expert on those areas, working at rural centers, small towns, etc., then we move to larger people, and then in mid-sized corporates or big corporates kinds of lending or the treasury, and then suddenly after 15, 20 years of experience, you go to IT. So kind of the leadership grooming or transformation that we are always undergoing is that sometimes you are leaders of IT, sometimes you are leaders of corporate lending, then sometimes of a small SME financing, etc. So this is how the truth prevails in all the public sector organizations. Is it the right way of handling the leadership in these banking and financial institutions, or as is having is the situation globally, means especially in developed jurisdictions, that after 3-4 years of experience, people choose a particular area and then they specialize and they become because you yourself were commenting that why CEOs are not being emerging from the organizations like public sector banks, etc. This may be one of the reasons. Means we are master of means jack of all trades, master of none. So, what is your take on this? Should this practice change, or it has?
My
right
take
way?
is that SBI's job rotation of senior executive is one of the best practices that the public sector banks have got. But this is an accidental way of developing leaders. That you are rotated. This itself is not enough. Unless it is buttressed at different stages by some formal, there are many things. For example, you may be facing a huge challenge in a particular job and you really don't know what to do, because most of the time in banks, it is sink or swim. Many organizations provide a formal mentorship and counseling by top-notch people at that time. In banking industry, it does not exist. If it exists in SBI, I'm not aware. But generally, my studies. Then second thing is that exposure to right kind of both domestic and international exposure. Not that they teach you, but you learn by observing. Most leadership now research reveals is learned either through parents, early socialization, or in the school of leadership is your own job. When you meet some excellent bosses and you are enamored by something in them that you want to, and even bad bosses who leave very hurtful feeling and you decide I will never be a leader like him. Not this, but lot of buttressing by exposure in various conferences, meeting some great people. I think those other parts, I don't know SBI, but in the sector are not as much as they should be. But your job rotation is something I envy. That it's amazing. You meet any SBI person, he's a versatile. He has worked here, he has worked there, he has worked in this function. And I used to often tell in my own organization, we have single function executives. One who has joined credit, treasury, or some have remained only a zonal manager, only doing priority sector. But you have which is a very good leadership intervention of giving you a drilling in banking. But that itself probably need buttressing by many other interventions. For example, I go to many conferences. I don't find a single bank from any. Top speakers come, they leave. I'm very happy he has organized something. We can't give you wisdom, but we are interacting at least. Many great conferences take place. I tell you, I look for a bank over there. I look for it. Not one. All India Management Association, National HRD Network. You name CII. Not even conferences sponsored by banks.
That is true. I always also.
So you just see, so that is what I was talking of. There is the learning space. Do my executives believe that they can self-nominate? They can write to boss that I would like to attend this. I give you an example. I worked in Kolkata 25 years back. So I decided that I will take my local managers. There used to be in IIM Kolkata Management Center for Human Values. It was part of a fantastic program. So I took without management permission. I knew that every damn thing on training is to be. So somebody said, you can be questioned. I said, let them question. If I can exceed my power in credit and confirmation takes place on that, do we take risk with this? Nobody questioned. I took out a house journal for the zone it was required and got chairman's forward. And the department is asking explanation how you have started a house journal. You have to be changing the culture. Leadership is all about changing the pivot, changing the status quo, and not being reckless in doing it, but for something good, something better. That's my book is all about. Dare to lead. Leading is daring.
Good evening. My question to Dr. Khandelwal only.
You are shooting at me, all of you.
Sir, it was your recommendation, HR recommendation for improvement. You recommended there should be a 360-degree feedback. So we want to know, sir, exactly what was your perspective while recommending that and why it was not implemented in any of the bank.
You know, interestingly, Khandelwal Committee's 105 recommendations were accepted by Government of India. They even appointed me as advisor to implement. I don't want to say my banker friends did not take advice. They picked up two recommendations. One, banker friend, because they said IBA now should. I have no grievance with government. Normally, they are the villain of the piece. The trouble, and then government asked me, they made me advisor that you now go to, you have carte blanche to go to different banks, hold meet. I said, no, I can't do it. I mean, the only point it doesn't look. The inner urge has not come. 360 degrees, nothing. I always believe that immediate boss can be very laudatory. I have found people about him, bosses throughout the year complain and giving him 92 marks out of 100. Okay. There is a culture I understand in some banks. If you give less than 95, there is a grievance in top executive. This is where you need leadership to really do something. But, well, 360 degrees, their subordinates also comment on you. If you are a toxic boss, if you are a boss, because we have bosses, who are they? Lick up, kick below. And I'm not saying it. A research has found that Indian bosses are lick up, kick below. And you will find some subordinated are irritatingly courteous. They are always around. So I call them irritatingly courteous. और सब ठीक है. और आप, if you ask them, they will walk your dog also. So how do you change that culture? It is possible. There is no time to tell about my experiences here. It is, therefore I say that you have so much inside you to practice your leadership. Within the, let us say, the wretched system, whatever, you can be special.
Sir,
Become a norm. Plan for the forthcoming transformation based on our own experience as also going by the global experience. Disruptions bring convenience for the end consumers. Towards the end, government prescription through ease is giving some direction to the PSBs. Whether that is enough, what else need to be done? Yes, is basically, for public sector, just like our Navaratna classification, we have enhanced the access for service excellence criteria program. Okay. So that's what sir is referring to. So how, the whole thing, disruption becoming a norm, and how an anticipated way planning has to be closed. See, this, in many ways, disruptions are many options, and many ways disruptions are external. Lots of people who work within organizations and over a period of time able to sense, In fact, whenever I speak to HR people, I tell them it is not only that you do all these appraisals and things like that, you also look around and see, you sense things from within the company. What is the drift of the company? So those sort of changes, technological disruptions even within, which is fathomable. Something which is outside is not. Then, unfortunately, we also go by a Western norm of defining the disruption. Okay. And over the last 20 years, if you look at it, management, methodological, and then technological disruptions has happened, of which more than 80% is now technological. It's, as Dr. Khandelwal was telling, that it's not that easy to get all these things acclimatized by yourself. Okay. So you need to take fresh bloods. Okay. You also need to empower them and mentor them. Actually, in the whole process, while Dr. Khandelwal had said many times about role model, etc., the typical act is actually called mentoring. This is what mentor did. It is actually the Greek word. The mentor is actually a person. What he did is now called mentoring. So that act can help.
And if people with that sense of understanding, I don't think that I can do that technological disruption myself at this age or at his age, but that will happen down the line. But if the mentor is able to watch it and then we see him through that, that could really help it. That external disruption, to the extent possible, is, I will not use the word control because people don't like the word control. You say you can manage. Okay, that's the only way. But you can't predict what's going to happen. I mean, particularly technologically and this AI things and all these things that you're saying, to the extent you know that things are going to happen, when, where, how, it is always difficult. But somebody takes ownership of that, and which is predominantly it is at Western world who takes that, they nomenclature it, then they take ownership, then they bring it to you and sell it to you.
Yes, sir. Sir, again, my question is to Dr. Khandelwal. Sir, a lot of HR related issues you discussed. So in that connection, I see in PSBs, we hire experts or professionals for IT function, for law, and even in a canteen, hotel management expert maybe. But HR is one area where perhaps we have only general bankers. And is the time ripe to engage HR professionals to take care of HR functions in the PSPs?
This question I have been raising since last 30 years. Bank of Baroda had a specialization in HR, and I'm product of that since 1958. 1958, and we have benefited. They bring limitations of their own. So what our bank did, starting with me, to send to banking operations. In the year 95, I was sent to banking operations. That gave me opportunity to experiment with my HR philosophy. Most people wrote an early funeral diary for me that he will fail. Because most HR people are talkers, to put it mildly. They give sermons. You should do that, you should do that. And I can assure you, I was not sent for career building, but with some of the content. And rest is history. So a man goes without any preparation and not knowing what is the difference between cash credit and hypothecation to banking. In the very first, he gets a promotion. Second posting, this is the Bar House of India, Kolkata. And career was late. I must have done something because I only knew transformation. Rest follow, and I knew how to channelize banking knowledge of my colleagues. It is not that I still don't claim. When you collectivize people's passion and use it, dramatic things can happen, I'm telling you. So we have benefited, and since then we are sending at DGM level, and I can tell you something. Most of our HR colleagues have done well in operations. Learning, collaboration, because when you are in corporate office, you are only giving direction. When you go to operation, you have to depend on others. So it's a very good strategy. I'm a great protagonist of specialized people. This is a highly specialized function we don't even know. In today's time, HR is granted board seat in many companies. This is banking. Can't help it. And we have, before I left, I thought, and occasionally we had love affair with HR. Some CEOs came who made sure that HR people are made totally superfluous and peripheral. And despite their heroic efforts to isolate them, They didn't succeed because they needed them during crisis. So I don't say all HR people are great people. Some of them are. They don't deserve to be where they are. But I tell you, as a function, as you rightly said, you do require a kind of a CHRO kind of a setup. But incidentally, let me share with you that in good old days, in mid-70s, even State Bank Group used to have manager HRD. And one of the gentlemen from whom I learnt a lot, one Raghavan, manager HRD, State Bank of Bikaner and Jaipur. I was in Jaipur, he was so brilliant banker, so brilliant a manager HRD. He was not a specialist, but there were specific designations in. Well, let us see. It's for individual banks.
Yes. Quickly run out of time. I would want only one question from a foreign banker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it. Please. Just introduce yourself, from which bank you are, and you can shoot your question. With that, we are closing and totally run out of time.
Okay, hello, Kus Zampola. My name is Deepak from Bank of Bhutan. As a banker, I'm very much concerned due to digital transformation. Almost all the services are available online. So is it necessary to downsize the employees in bank branches? If it is so, thousands of bankers have to leave their job. Thank you.
Automation and digitalization, moving employees out.
People will
Even in banking industry in India, people thought so in the beginning. But I tell you, there are so much of other associated jobs that I don't think the situation would be that disastrous that the jobs will go away. They might go away if people do not, the normal banking skills will not suffice. If people do not build additional competencies and new areas, competency building, skill building. The challenge is that. And those employees who think they have got a job and they can stay, as they could stay without digitalization, they must suffer in the process. But, and that is where challenge is there to educate employees, throwing them up. But you only lock stock and barrel, put digitalization without preparation or without skill building and without, then there is a big challenge.
Thank you so much.
He does not give either free lunch or free dinner. Please know.
Okay. So we have totally run out of time. I'm, highly thankful to the esteemed panelists, the way their erudition and seen to even answer each of your questions, and to, all the poses that we have done during the panel discussion. And also, we were all glued to the entire discussion. So thankful on behalf of the State Bank Institute of Leadership, to all the physical presence as well as the online presence, to all the cohorts. I'm sure you are immensely benefited from the experience that we gave you. And I would request our director to honor them with a small memento. Please.
You should honor him for conceptualizing and conducting it so well.
Please. The pleasure. Nair. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Yep, yeah. And right in the position. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good. So thank you so much, being very active participant. I'm sure that you are immensely benefited from. Thank you. So the next occasion, what is the theme that we need to discuss on? Please indicate through your teams, and you can tell your course coordinators also will be taking up, because it's a very regular activity at SBI. Thank you so much.